The room was cramped, lit with the kind of blue-white fluorescence that drains all life from a face. Someone had written, "Do your best," in marker on the conference room glass, but the B was smeared, and it read like a stifled cough. They'd called a quick morning sink, but I already knew what this would be. My skin prickled with the sense of looming humiliation. This was how my days started at the tabloid's Berlin office. Bad coffee, snickering glances, and now, the boss's voice lancing through the air. "Lena, you're late again. Step forward." I forced a breath, grounding myself so my hands wouldn't shake. Lehman eyed me, lips pursed around his mug. Around the table, the others, mostly men, tried not to meet my eyes. Jenna, the only other woman, bit her lip, uncertain. Lehman cleared his throat. "Tell the room what your big idea was last week." A cold fist closed on my stomach. Last week, I'd pitched an expose on the Graywire Group, a right-wing splinter cell rumored to be funneling money into violent acts. I had sources, but nobody cared. The Graywire thing? My voice cracked. I said if we dig deeper, there are connections nobody's looked into. He cut me off, dismissive. "We're not Der Spiegel now, Lena. You're here to chase stories people read, not chase phantoms and conspiracy boards. Did anyone actually follow your lead?" A few reluctant shakes of heads. "You're fixated on this, I swear." He pressed on, the smirk returning. "Your high-minded journalism, you realize no one wants it, especially in this office. 8 rejected pitches. Does that sound like breaking news material to you?" Silence. Heat rose to my cheeks. "Why don't you try something practical?" he finished, like a fluff piece on expat brunch spots. Someone snickered. I felt it, the weight pressing down. Years of study, scholarship, and all the late-night arguments with my parents played out in my head. My father's voice. "Stop dreaming, Lena. Hard work doesn't equal success in that world. It's fantasy." The familiar pinch in my chest squeezed again, but I made myself look at Lehman. "With respect," I said, voice barely above a whisper, "we owe people the truth, not just clicks." Lehman laughed, openly now. "The truth?" He spread his hands, mock wide-eyed. "Look around. Nobody hears Woodward or Bernstein, least of all you." My defiance faltered, the fear that maybe he was right. Maybe I'd wasted years on something unreal. My heart twisted. But I swallowed, raised my chin, and said, "I'll prove I'm not wrong." Lehman rolled his eyes, moving on, but something in me locked into place. I walked out after the meeting, back straight, but by the time I reached the staircase, my legs were trembling. I didn't have to wait for the formal firing. I knew it was coming. At my desk, a pink slip lay neat atop my keyboard. I called my mother the day I lost my job. I always did, especially on bad days. She picked up after one ring. She always sounded half busy, half worried. "Mama, it's done. They fired me." She sighed, a soft rustle at the end of the line. Maybe slicing bread, picturing me somewhere I never belonged. "I warned you," she said gently. "You could come home, Lena. There's no shame in starting over, really. Maybe do something normal for a while. You're good with children, or you could teach." She didn't say we're disappointed, but it was there, wrapped in every word. The wind outside my tiny Kreuzberg flat rattled the window. I pressed my forehead to the glass, watching people bicycle past, free and oblivious. "I'm not quitting," I whispered. The line was quiet, then just, "I worry for you." I hung up, heart sore, but more determined than ever. My world constricted through that winter. I scraped by on freelance translations and old savings. Clients canceled, invoices drifted unpaid. Family dinners back home in Potsdam became tense. My uncle's voice, always craggy with smoke, would boom through the kitchen. "Still chasing your pipe dream job? You're nearly 30, Lena. That's not a career, that's a game. Time to grow up." Murmurs followed. She always thought she was different. High horse, Lena. Maybe a real job next year. Every word was a stone. But beneath my fear I'd never land on my feet, fear I'd proven them right, devotion simmered. If no one would let me report, I'd find the stories myself, even if I published alone. Berlin was a different city at night. I'd ride my battered bike through the dim streets, notebooks stuffed in my parka, listening for whispers. It was in a trash-lit Neukölln bar I caught my first break. Max, a tired informant I'd met back at the paper, slid into the booth opposite me, eyes darting. "I heard you're still asking about Graywire," he muttered. My pulse sped. "I am. Did you find something?" He checked over his shoulder. "I got a name. Big meeting, tonight warehouse, Shadowy. They're expecting new funding. Photographs, Lena. That's the ticket. Get them with the right faces, marked cash. That's your proof." Fear warred with hope. I scratched the address in my notebook. Hands sweating. "Don't get seen," Max warned. "Last guy who stuck his nose in? Well, just keep your phone ready." I spent the next hour perched atop a freezing trash skip, knees jammed to my chest, camera trained on the warehouse door. My breath measured in white plumes. I counted men, faces half-lit, laughter snapping through the night. One face, Friedrich Komar, a city councilman, his grin shark-bright, stepped from a black car, shaking hands with a heavy-set man who pressed a metal case to his chest. Clicks. My fingers trembled. When dawn finally broke, I hurried home, lock shuttering as I slid inside. I enlarged photos on my laptop, heart thumping. There, faces, license plate, briefcase clearly exchanged. Names matched to news clippings. I pored over every pixel, every detail, until I had more than a headline. I had the truth. The next weeks blurred. I pieced the story together. Interviews, financial leaks funneled between private accounts. No publisher wanted it. Libel risks, they said, too speculative, or no proven connection. But I would not give up. I loaded everything into a long, meticulously sourced article, supplemented my notes with the images, the transaction logs I'd traced. On a cold Monday, I fired off emails to every international outlet I knew. The waiting merely broke me. 2 weeks of silence, just bills and increasingly sharp emails from my landlord. Then, in the biting dark of a January morning, my phone vibrated. Subject line, "Your investigation interested." The sender, Anna Poltava, an editor at The Guardian. "Is all your sourcing independently verified?" she later asked on our first call. "The evidence, the photos, these are corroborated?" "Yes," I said, voice trembling with fear and hope. "You can speak with my sources." And Poltava, clipped but kind, replied, "If it holds up, Lena, this is front-page material. It could shake Berlin to its bones." They flew me to London to finalize the piece, polished under sharp eyes and careful legal counsel. I wept the first night in the hotel, relief mingling with terror. 3 days later, my byline ran atop an international front page, "Berlin's Political Underground, the Graywire Pipeline," by Lena Ivanchikova. The city convulsed. Protests rocked government offices. Komar resigned within the week, and a corruption probe launched. My inbox, dead for months, exploded. "Is this you, Weena?" A cousin's text, jubilant with new respect. Interviews followed. BBC, ZDF, even a grudging call from my old editor Lehman. He stammered his congratulations, reluctant. In the months that followed, offers flooded in. I picked assignments with care. Stories that mattered. Stories that would have gotten me kicked out of conference rooms before. I found friends, real mentors. I won an award, then another. My mother, seeing my name in papers everywhere, called less to fret, more to ask about my latest project. Even so, the ache of old rejection lingered. For years, Berlin was city of sharp words and sneers. I stayed away from Potsdam, visiting only for family holidays, trying to chase away that bruised part of me. But as the dust settled, a letter arrived, the old publisher requesting me to give a talk at the city library. I nearly said no. I wanted to forget those faces that mocked me, wanted never again to feel like the girl with pipe dream ambitions. But something in me, the stubborn child who first built press kits in her diary, who once pressed her nose to my mother's kitchen window and dreamed of changing the world, decided I would return. The library was heavy with nostalgia. Real wood shelves, dusty afternoon sun fanning across the reading tables. I paced among the rows, fiddling with my battered notebook, damp palms pressed to my jeans. Families shuffled in, some faces drawn from childhood memories. The neighbor who once told my mother, Lena always was a stubborn one. My uncle with his craggy laugh, and at the back, Lehman, freshly shaven and uncomfortable. The head librarian took my elbow. "We've got the big screen for your presentation," she said. Expecting a good turnout. The paper said you might show off that photograph, the one that brought down Komar? I nodded, heart wild. It had been months, but that old dread crawled up again. What if they only saw the same foolish girl? What if the evidence wasn't enough? My uncle caught my eye as I adjusted my microphone. "Well, Lena," he boomed, voice echoing across the quiet, "you finally caught a story, eh?